Good afternoon, everyone. It's just gone 1, so we will start, but I am welcoming you all to this joint meeting of the West of England Mayoral Combined Authority Committee and Joint Committee this afternoon. Before I start, I'll just do the evacuation procedure. We're not expecting a fire alarm, so in the event of a fire, please await direction from staff members who will help assist with the evacuation. Please do not return to the building until instructed to do so by fire wardens. So item 1 today is welcome and introductions and also apologies for absence. So welcome to everyone to this meeting. The following apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Mike Bell from North Somerset Council. I welcome my committee colleagues, Councillor Kevin Guy, leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council and Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Tony Dyer, leader of Bristol City Council. I did think Catherine was coming. Yeah, we were expecting Catherine Gibbons to substitute for Councillor Mike Bell, but she is not here. Maybe she will come. We'll see. And Councillor Maggie Tyrrell is stuck in traffic, but will be with us as soon as she is able to be here. I also would like to very much welcome Councillor Jerome Thomas, newly re-elected chair of the Authorities Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Congratulations.
Thank you, Helen.
No worries, and it was very good to see you and the committee on Monday. Also, I welcome Councillor David Wilcox, thank you, chair of the Authorities Audit Committee. Thank you for being here. And also Richard Bonner, chair of the West of England Local Enterprise Partnership Board. I especially want to thank Richard for all of his work over the years and everyone at the LEP. National changes will mean that the LEP's integrated into the combined authority, and we will be sharing more details and news about that and how the partnership with regional businesses will evolve into the future. We'll be doing that next week, but in the meantime, just a huge thank you from us, Rich, for everything that you've done. Second item today is declarations of interest under the Localism Act 2011. Do members have any interest to declare?
Sorry. Thank you. I just, as I always do, like to assure colleagues that my register of interest is up to date. There are 2 items mentioned that refer to Business West, where I'm a non-executive director, so I won't be commenting on that specifically, and my employer is mentioned in the report, and I won't be commenting on that either.
Brilliant. All right, thank you for clarifying, appreciate that. Item 3, yeah, welcome.
I do apologise for being late.
Not
stuck in traffic.
Not at all, not at all. I think it's a lot of it about, I think Maggie has the same issue. So item 3 is the minutes. So the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of June 2025 have been included in the agenda pack. So are members content to agree these minutes as a correct record?
Happy to do so.
Okay.
Happy to move. Yeah.
Lovely. So that's confirmed. And then I just want to start with some comments from myself as the mayor. And the first thing I would like to do is to start on behalf of everyone here today and people across the West by sharing our heartfelt condolences with everyone affected by the tragic accident on Exmoor yesterday. That this happened on an end of term school trip is particularly devastating, and our thoughts are with the children, families and communities that have been affected, and will of course be heartbroken this morning. We also want to thank the emergency services and members of the public who responded locally, and also of course our NHS staff at the BRI and the Children's Hospital for looking after people who were injured. I also would like to take a moment to remember David Sid Lawrence, who passed away last month. His funeral was taking place just across the road at St Mary Redcliffe this afternoon. Sid is already greatly missed by all of us who knew him. He was a true pioneer for England and Gloucestershire, especially for a generation like me, for whom he was already a legend when we were growing up locally. That legacy is now stronger due to the work and the advocacy around motor neurone disease that Sid carried out in the last few years of his life. In this part of the meeting, I will always be looking to reflect on what we've achieved together since our last meeting. It's been quite a busy month, so here goes. I really feel, and we reflected on this in the last meeting, it is the start of a new chapter for our region, but there is already a sense of momentum, and that is thanks to the work of the Combined Authority and all council officers and partners. So since the 6th of June, we have launched our Youth Guarantee, starting to support young people into work and training, thanks to £5 million from government. This week, Ian, Tony and I were at SGS College with dozens of businesses across the region who are keen to get involved and support this work. And we've also recently invested a record £11.3 million in skills boot camps, which will help workers and companies to upskill and continue to drive growth. Yesterday, a few of us, I think, around the table saw the country's biggest supercomputer, Isambard AI, switched on at the Bristol and Bath Science Park, and that was hosted by the University of Bristol. Peter Kyle, the Science and Tech Secretary of State, pressed the button, joined by Claire, the MP for Filton and Bradley Stoke. It's the 11th most powerful supercomputer in the world and will accelerate research and innovation here in the West. It's quite a lot for me to get my head around, which I tried to hide. But it really is something very, very special for the region, and there was a real sense, it wasn't there in the room, that this is something that's going to drive and move us forward. And I think some of the real life examples around the use already in medical research, for example, is going to make hopefully bring the region sort of behind what is a huge endeavour. We've also managed to secure our share of a new £150 million devolved Creative Places Fund from government. That's for us and for 5 other regions. And we'll be looking to hear shortly what our allocation is within that fund. And of course, people are already ticking off the new Grommet Trail in aid of the Grand Appeal. And I'm delighted to say you can pick up your map as you leave today. From the reception here at 70 Redcliffe Street. So please do get involved and share your pictures of the trail. More things that we've been up to. In Bristol, Tony and I enjoyed a boat trip with the Harbour Master to look at Capricorn Quay and the floating ecosystems there, which are really thriving after investment from the council and also from the Combined Authority. We celebrated that work at the SS Great Britain and spoke with hundreds of business leaders about investing in our environment. And with Councillor Ed Plowden, dressed in yellow, me, not him, we reopened the Banana Bridge just across the way. In South Gloucestershire, I joined Dot and Councillor Chris Wilmore to announce the expansion of the e-bike and e-scooter trial into Lyde Green and other areas. And that is ahead of a safety campaign with Dot and the police that I'm looking to launch this summer. With Maggie, I announced the common sense plans for the Y8 West Local bus to reconnect with Wootton Under Edge and other villages, with more improvements to these services set to be announced later today. I joined Bath and North East Somerset councillors and stakeholders last week at the Housing Summit, where a first of its kind housing accord was signed, committing people to work together across party lines to deliver affordable homes. And also in Bath and North East Somerset last week, near Box, I did drive through the border into Wiltshire, but it was confirmed I was definitely in Baines. We went to the new Jamie's Farm, which was wonderful, a wonderful charity, and we were both really excited to be joined by the charity's patron, Her Majesty the Queen. We met young people supported by Jamie's Farm and were really inspired by their stories, and I'm really hopeful that we can do more work with Jamie's Farm as a combined authority going forward. We've also announced since our last meeting, Kids Go Free for the summer for bus travel, and we did that with children from Perry Court EACT Academy in Hengrove. We're also going to be sharing a list of free things that you can do over the summer on our Travel West website and via social media. So the aim here is that we're really helping families to get around for free or for much cheaper than would normally be, and also access loads of the free activities that are across the region. So I would ask all attendees to really share that through your channels if you can, because it will make a difference to a lot of families over the upcoming 6 weeks. We also confirmed free bus travel for care leavers up to the age of 25, and young people are able to register through their council support worker. I joined Mike Bell and Tony and Sadiq Al Hassan, the MP for North Somerset, at Temple Meads last week after we got the green light from government for the Bristol and Portishead line, which will see new stations for Peel and Portishead and trains in 2028. And at the start of the month, I met with other mayors and Active Travel Commissioner Chris Boardman in York. And Chris will be back in our region actually next week. And we also met with Chief Medical Officer Professor Chris Whitty, and along with the other mayors, we've announced plans to develop a national walking and cycling network, which will include doubling the number of school streets in our region by 2027. We've also, of course, welcomed record funding for transport improvements across the West in the spending review, £750 million for fixing roads, better buses, more trains and mass transit development, with trams back on the table, I'm delighted to say, and that will make a real difference that people can see and feel over the coming years. The devolution bill, like the spending review, is a vote of confidence in the West and will empower and invest in communities. Alongside new powers and new funding, we will see a stronger mandate for mayors through a return to a fairer voting system, and I know we will all welcome that. It's something I've lobbied for, so I'm delighted to see democracy being strengthened in that way and to see votes for 16-year-olds announced yesterday as well. But most importantly, further devolution will see more big decisions made here in the West rather than over 100 miles away in Westminster. So alongside these national changes, we will be working on our own constitutional reforms here. So enough from me, because I also want to offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we move on to more substantive business. So I'll start with Kevin. Anything you would like to add? No pressure.
Wasn't expecting that, Mayor. Sorry. Yeah. Reiterate, we had the pleasure of welcoming the Queen last week, which was a great honour. Jamie's Farm is an amazing charity. There's some really interesting bits of information in this report, some really good cross-party work led by the Mayor in how you can really build regional regeneration programmes, and happy to talk about those as we move along. But as Helen has pointed out, this is a new era of collaboration, and Helen has definitely brought a breath of fresh air to this committee, this building, and I think to the West of England Combined Authority in general. So we're looking forward to getting things done, aren't we, Helen?
We certainly are. Thank you very much, Kevin. Tony.
Yeah, just very quickly, just pick up on a lot of things that you mentioned and fully support them. I think the £25 million from the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport that's we're going to get over the next 3 years is going to be vitally important for our creative industries. We've just done an impact study which shows that in terms of delivering economic growth, our culture sector generates £900 million per year in Bristol, and I imagine Bath will also have a similar story to tell. And I think you're right, this is feels like a start of a new era. There's plenty of opportunities to come forward, and looking forwards to further cross-party and cross-authority working.
Excellent, thanks, Tony. Maggie, I'll give you a second, and I'll go to Catherine first. Is that okay? Catherine, anything you want to add from North Somerset?
Just to reiterate, as my colleague Mike Bell has done on previous occasions, that we really welcome this refreshed atmosphere of cross-authority collaboration and working so well with North Somerset. And it was great to welcome you to Weston-super-Mare today, where we had our own celebration of the Kids Go Free and a morning on the beach, trying to make it look as summery as possible, I think. So that was just fantastic. And I really enjoyed talking to you about the supercomputer project. I wish I'd been there, because this is an area of potential development for this region that I think is incredibly important. Everything to do with AI and the skills in that area, as we have said. So Brilliant. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maggie.
Yes, apologies for my late arrival, but yes, I mean I think at this stage, because I haven't quite settled in yet, but no, I will reiterate, I think, what I've heard others say, that the new mood and the collaboration that's going on, I think, will be to everybody's benefit, and I really look forward to moving forward with our growth plans, etc. I think that we've all got things in our regions that will be of great benefit to the communities.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maggie. And I'm really very much enjoying working with you all. So thank you for the kind welcome that I've received as well. Okay, so we'll move on to item 5, which is items from the public. So under the Constitution, we have 30 minutes. Thank you. We have 30 minutes for this item. We've had 20 questions that were received from members of the public in advance of this meeting, and written responses to these questions have now been published on the authority's website. In addition, 12 statements were received. Again, thank you. It's important that people feel that they can contribute to this part of the meeting, and these statements will also be published on the authority's website. So I will call each person in turn. I think we have six people in attendance, and each person will speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Our colleagues in Democratic Services will time that. So if we get to 3 minutes, then I will just do a short reminder. I think the first statement is from Jacqueline Pira, and it's going to be read by Tony Jones. Thanks, Tony.
Can you hear me? Is that working?
Yeah.
All right. I'll just summarise her statement because she's not able to be with you. As people know, Bristol Airport wants to expand further to 15 million passengers per annum at a time when the previous expansion, which was opposed by the local authority and overwhelmingly by local people, hasn't even seen the expansion from 10 to 12 million. So until the effect of the increase in passenger numbers from 10 million to 12 million passengers per annum has been thoroughly observed, reviewed and analysed, and until there is an honest and viable environmental solution to airport expansion and air travel, Bristol Airport should not, in my view, be given leave to expand any further. It is morally wrong and against the wishes of the majority who have to put up with the misery of increasing traffic, environmental pollution and aircraft noise. I would like to urge the Mayor and the combined authority to object to Bristol Airport's proposed expansion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. The second statement today is from Melissa Topping.
Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to add to the statement that I submitted, if that's okay, please. I'm here to discuss the East Bristol Livable Neighbourhood Scheme and specifically highlight the disability discrimination involved. My focus today is on the urgent need to remove all road clutter and bus gates in our community. There's a significant issue with disability consultation. We believe Bristol City Council has misrepresented their engagement with disabled residents, and we're asking for your intervention. In October 2024, I discovered that Wessel, a key disability organisation, had not been consulted on the scheme, despite being listed in consultation papers. After I raised this with Wessel's CEO, they contacted BCC, and Wessel was subsequently removed from the consultation papers. When I complained to BCC in October, their December response claimed consultation was with a Barton Hill Disabilities Group via a walkabout, which I found to be a non-existent group. A Freedom of Information request confirmed BCC holds no information on any disability engagements. Further inconsistencies arose when BCC representatives initially denied knowledge of this group in January. Then 3 months later, described it as individual people from Barton Hill, despite no records existing. This was followed by a claim that Barton Hill Disabilities Group was a capitalisation error. Further inconsistencies arose when a BCC representative initially denied knowledge. In July, a date for this alleged walkabout appeared, June 13th, 2023, which is after the full plans were released to the public. This suggests it wasn't a genuine consultation during the planning stages and certainly wouldn't have included those with mobility issues or the housebound. Even BCC's 2 mentioned internal groups, for which no information is held, are insufficient for proper disabled consultation. Furthermore, recent July responses from BCC have reasserted that they have been in contact with Wessel throughout, which contradicts our findings. Wessel's wait team is now doing an audit after the scheme is in place, which is too late to qualify as proper consultation. As Wessel is a paid advisory group, this also doesn't fulfil the Equalities Act consultation requirements. Therefore, we believe BCC is in breach of the Equalities Act 2010. The scheme, based on what we consider false claims, has had a severe negative impact on our community, costing 7.5 million of WECA funding. We are collecting daily evidence on impacts to residents. The trial must cease immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. The next statement is from Jackie Head.
Hello. I'm not going to read my statement. I'm going to put to you a question. Imagine you're on board a bus and you know that that bus is driving towards a cliff edge. How long are you going to stay on that bus before you think you should get off because it's going to crash? Imagine if only a year ago you were on a bus a bit like this bus that was going towards a cliff edge and it did go off the edge of that cliff. It did crash and burn. How is that going to impact on how you trust the bus that you're currently on that's heading towards a cliff edge? Final point, if you're not on the bus, but you can see this bus is heading towards a cliff edge, are you going to get on? Silly metaphors maybe, the cliff edge is a funding cliff edge. The 672 was cut. It devastated my area in the Chew Valley. We had 9 months with no fixed bus service. We were absolutely delighted to be awarded the West Local Fund for the X91 and the 99. I've sent copies of the Great Big Bus Survey that shows how well those routes are doing, how much they're valued, how they're reducing social isolation in the area, how they're helping towards decarbonisation. These are really powerful routes, really useful in the area, and they're heading towards a cliff edge. Next March, the funding that backs them comes to an end. So what I'm wanting to kind of put across to you is, if you don't get this right for the next bit, if you're not able to continue those routes, or if you think, oh, we'll have a gap before the next funding comes, you've blown it for the Chew Valley. We've worked so hard to win over hearts and minds to coming back on buses after that awful experience of the 672 going. If that happens again, you've really blown it. On the other hand, if you can give us reassurance now, or very close to now, that you're building a bridge and that cliff edge is not a cliff edge, it's just a transition point to something else, then we have a story that we can tell to the people who are on the bus, who are looking at the bus and thinking of getting on it. Both those buses are growing, but they really risk shrinking back the closer we get to that cliff edge. If we can get reassurance out into the community that there's a plan, that we know what's going to happen next, that will make all the difference. We've got a big event in September. I've actually written to you to invite you to come to it. It would be great if at that event you could make it really clear to the people of the Chew Valley that you're committed to these routes, that you've got a plan, that the bridge is being built, and that rural areas like ours, where social isolation is a real issue with the elderly and with the young, where decarbonisation, if it doesn't happen, will affect your cities. Please prioritise us.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Okay, the next statement is David Redgewell.
So I suppose I pick up a bit on, as the pasture rep on the bus advisory panel for North Somerset and WECA, pick up the cliff edge situation. We are very concerned. There's lots of buses gone back in position, like in South Bristol, Tony, the ones I went out on last night looking at 16, the new 37, that's not always as reliable and as frequent as it should be, from Severn Beach to South Bristol. It fails at night sometimes. But there's going to have all these buses. We've got the Y8, which we welcome back in Wootton Under Edge, Charfield, Kingswood, and the area up there, which is brilliant for it to be put back in place. But all these routes come to an end on April 2026 unless we find funding, including the routes in that North Somerset and around Weston-super-Mare and Bath and into South Gloucestershire, Maggie. We're putting more buses in September, but they're on short-term sort of timescales. So money is a very important. So we're talking to the Secretary of State and Heidi Alexander. We need that funding. We haven't had the announcement of what the revenue support funding is. And that revenue support funding for the West Midlands Mayoral Combined Authority in North Somerset and into Gloucestershire, Somerset and Wiltshire is extremely important. The other issue I want to pick up on is, as the pasture rep with disability, I am very concerned about some of this. We still have bus stops in Bristol, I've listed them, where I can't get on and off a bus. I went out last night to look at Broomhill to check there wasn't any bus stops there. There isn't on the new 36. I need to go in there. We've requested them, so has Alan Peters from Wentbower. But in the city centre, the number 9 that sits there in the city centre, if the number 8 comes in, the rail link bus, it can't get off my wheelchair because you've got a bus standing over and nobody's done any equalities and diversity planning. And that is really worrying that we don't take it seriously. So my request today is the mayor and others come out in a wheelchair and see what it's like for the day. That's been done in Manchester. It's been done with Highways England and officers. By the way, Mag, we had your staff for all day yesterday. It was brilliant training course with street care. So we can do it in South Gloss. I've done it in North Somerset, by the way, as well. And a bit in the past, Kevin in Baines. But we need to get out there and see what it's like for disabled people. I've worked with Andy Burnham on this particular thing, stations, on buses. We've got to have an accessible system. We need a panel at this level, not at Bristol level or Bath or North Somerset or South Gloss. It needs to be at a regional level. We just got yesterday a disabled equalities panel part of the BSIP process to make sure we don't miss this stuff out. Okay. And then finally, I just want to say 2 things. We need to get Henbury Station built. I was at Charfield this morning. Henbury's delayed. And can we please look at, from Andy Burnham, where we're buying electric buses? Buying Chinese buses doesn't provide any jobs in the UK or help our economy. Our next order, we should be looking at buying buses in Ireland and buying buses in Scotland, if that can be looked at. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dave. The next statement is Christina Biggs.
Hello, my name is Christina Biggs. I'm representing Bristol Rail Campaign, which people may know as Bristol Friends of Suburban Bristol Railways. It's our newest name. So first of all, that's very striking. I sent this statement on July the 1st, and top of our list was secure the final funding for the Portishead rail line with stations at Pill and Portishead. Fantastic work. Thank you so much. And I know that's a lot of work behind the scenes. I know that it's been in the balance. I know that the Dan Norris did push that forward, but I think this is really the green lights. But to reassure the folks out in Portishead it's actually going to happen, let's have a shovel in the ground party. Okay, we can all turn up the shovel, and Network Rail can put the shovel in first, but we're jolly well going to put other shovels in, and I think that would make a lovely front page for North Somerset. They'll be so happy. Other things, though, I'm very sorry, there's other things, which is very much ongoing. So Tim Bowles implemented Metrobus Phase 1A and Phase 2. So fantastic that we've got half-hour service to Yates. Filton Bank was probably the biggest thing that went in that's really helped reliability. So going forwards, our suggestion is to look northwards, because you've got Thornbury there, Titherington line, which can quite easily be extended to Grosvenor roundabouts. To do that, we need to remodel Wesley Junction. So it's the same situation with Filton Bank. We had to remodel Filton Bank to get to a half-hour service on the Severn Beach line. Wesley Junction is now on the priority hit list for Western Gateway, where James White, who was seconded to Western Gateway. It could be expensive. It's not you will have to pay. It's just you have to promote it, go to Heidi Alexander, and maybe connect up with Midlands Connect, because they want that bottleneck as well. It's the cross countries coming across the main line. At the moment, Wesley Junction is on the level, so that you're having a problem when you're trying to cross over the other way coming south. You have to go over level, wait for trains in both directions. So the proposal for Wesley Junction, which Network Rail have actually started going on, is to do a dive under, which is slightly shallower than the existing Wesley Oil Depot line. So the other suggestion is let's go to Wesley Oil Depot. We've got a lovely site we can have a look at together, Ram Hill. You can see everything from there, and get that conversation started. There's other things on our list, so slightly smaller things like Lydney. So at the moment, if you want to get to Lydney by train, you have to wait for 40 minutes at Seven Tunnel Junction in both directions. So yeah, let's get on to those easy ones as well. Thank you very much, Mayor. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. Okay, the final statement, I think, in person is from Caroline Dunn.
Hello. I'm sorry I get very breathless due to my disability. I hope you will bear with me. I can't speak fast. Obviously, part of my statement's written for a wider audience. What I want you to focus on, I want you to focus on three particular very important things. Firstly, setting up an advisory panel of real disabled people who need to use cars and buses and trains so that they can give you decent feedback about what the real practical impact of a project on disabled people's freedom of movement will be before you fund it and why you can build in changes from the outset, avoiding expensive alterations later. All these tick box EQIAs, they're obviously not working. So please consider this proposal very, very seriously. Also, secondly, please investigate the way the Highways Authority and in particular BCC Transport Committee is operating with a view to changing its processes and probably personnel. From observation and involvement, it is clear to me that the Executive and Chair are not considering their responsibility to the wider Bristol community, never mind disabled people. I want you to hold all funding for current and future projects temporarily, pending your recommendations following a thorough review. I am sure, Helen, you are very well capable of doing a very good review. You're obviously one bright, intelligent cookie. It is obvious with even minor involvement that BCC is not following our crucial equalities legislation and is in breach of the PSCD. This reflects badly on you as the Transport Authority. Furthermore, finally, I have been saying since March that the EBLN trial, I am not part of the EBLN, but I believe in standing up for what is obviously right to stand up for. The EBLN trial needs to be stopped and reconsidered as we are risking a major fire disaster. I have been saying loudly we are at risk of a major fire disaster since March. Please, now we've got you, Helen, please listen. Indeed, about 3 weeks ago, there was a large domestic fire in Blois Street where people died. I know it's not in the EBLN, it's on the edge. But as fire engines get, I know how fire engines work when you have a fire. Fire engines get pulled in from further and further and further away areas. I cannot help but wonder if the inability of some fire engines to get across the EBLN played a role. Please stop this trial before we have another fire. And please remember, and I'm sure you actually do, you have a duty of care to everyone, not just the disabled. And many folk in Bristol rely on a car for their lives to be able to function at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you so much for all those statements. It's appreciated. They are heard, and as per previous comments, the responses will be published to the questions on the website. So we will move on to item 6, which is comments from the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership Board.
Thank you very much, Chair. So as you rightly say, it is time to move the Local Enterprise Partnership on, and we're really delighted that you are taking on the work of standing up the business board. I think it's right to just pause for a moment and reflect on that partnership. Over the last 14 years, there's been a true partnership between the private sector, the universities, the voluntary sector, the trade unions with the local authorities and the combined authority. That partnership has attracted many, many hundreds of millions of pounds into the region over those years. And actually, when you think about the impacts, the many hundreds of businesses that have been supported in being able to push themselves forwards, those SME organisations who have had impact from our decisions and funds, the many thousands of people who've been supported on their skills journey, the impact on the capital investment programmes towards supporting transport, economic development, inward investment. I think that there's been a great model and, of course, we look forward to seeing how new proposals unlock. We were at the board yesterday at Temple Quarter, and the LEP engaged to support the enterprise zone status. And actually, when you reflect that we've seen probably £1 billion worth of capital investment from the public and private sector over those years, it's a real testament to how we work together to make real impact. Yesterday, we enjoyed being with colleagues at the launch of Isambaba AI, and I think it made me really realise actually that there is a new economy emerging, many new opportunities for us in the region. We are at the forefront of so much around the sort of technology sector, and I think to refresh and create a business board that are able to support you and colleagues in taking all those advantages, that's really, really important. There have been many hundreds of people who've been involved with the Local Enterprise Partnership over many years, and it's a thank you to all of those who've contributed. Two colleagues in particular, Joanne Rumney and Chris Greer, have spent several years co-chairing the Skills Advisory Board, and I think it's a testament to actually that public service to make a real difference for the region. I'd like to personally thank Melissa Houston, who's, as an officer, has provided the LEP with a lot of support over many, many years. And of course, we're in the tent and we will continue to work with you all in whatever capacity you need. So thank you. If I could just talk briefly to the programme, my notes will be attached to the minutes, but we're really pleased, of course, with the investment fund and the grant management proposals. It's pleasing to see that there's a continuing build on the work that's gone on over many years, and I think it continues to create lots of impact. The West of England Local Remediation Acceleration Plan, again, is contributing in many ways to helping us to ensure that people are living in safe homes and that we have a proper approach to cladding remediation. We're thrilled that the authority are taking on the challenge of creating a spatial development strategy. We know there's a real dichotomy between ensuring that we respect local plans, but at the same time creating the framework to unlock the huge advantages we have across the region. And we wish you as a team with your officers the very best to deliver that outcome. We know it's not going to be easy, but we think that's a great value to us all. We've said around transportation, actually, the drag on congestion to business is about £300 million a year. So actually all of your work to continue to unlock public transport, the move to the people being able to actively travel and to think about the long-term future is vitally important to support the businesses that operate across our region. So thank you for continuing with that as well. And just to both sets of budgets for both the Joint Committee and the Mayoral Combined Authority, it's pleased to see that you'll continue to be prudent, that you'll continue to plan for the long term. And we wish you all the very best as a new committee, and we look forward to sort of participating where we can. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rich. Item 7 is comments from the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Jerome.
Thanks very much, Chair. Just to start with, I think we might have clashing mics. I think there's a bit of echo going on. Thank you. The report's been published on the website, so I'll just kind of pick out a few extracts. Thank you very much, Mayor, for attending your first Overview and Scrutiny meeting on Monday and for fielding questions. We very much looking forward to working productively with you and members of your team. The questions to the Mayor on Monday from committee members covered active travel, CRSTS and its replacement TCR, the rebooting of the spatial development strategy, constitutional changes and relationships in the authority. In terms of the work planning for the Scrutiny Committee, there will be more work planning that takes place in the autumn because we've been very much focused on the transition with you as new incoming Mayor. We're still awaiting a briefing session on bus reform, and this is obviously the area where we're looking at is franchising appropriate for the region. We know that Arup is already kind of starting to undertake consultancy work, but not many people seem to have much of an idea of what Arup are actually doing. We do appreciate there are kind of issues around the transition with you as a new incoming Mayor, but the sooner that Scrutiny members are able to have that briefing session on the work that Arup is doing on franchising and what the terms of reference for Arup are around franchising and bus reform, the more useful that will be. We looked at the sort of items on this agenda. We welcome the higher level of financial returns, which have enabled reserves to return to acceptable levels. Concerns were raised about delivery on delays to the rail completion timetable in North Bristol. We looked at the Remediation acceleration plan and particularly noted that the building safety regulator is a key point of information. I know from the housing committee meeting this morning in Bristol that the biggest bottleneck around is the building safety regulator. So just our kind of pointer on that. I think the area where we want to get in good early focus is the development of the spatial development strategy. We welcome John Wilkinson in his first meeting as the new director for this area. And this area sort of needs a kind of a project initiation document as we go into the autumn. We need a rapid understanding of any significant incompatibilities between current local plans and an emerging spatial development strategy. We need a reasonable understanding of why it is that the previous attempts at the development of the spatial development strategy broke down, and any actions which are needed to address the underlying causes, from that breakdown last time. An understanding really of what the negotiating process is going to be, because it could be that some of our unitary authorities will need to build more homes than others, but that then might need that they need a larger share of the transport budget. So how we approach this in a holistic way, and I know that you're particularly keen on making sure that the way that we look at services combined with homes is happening. It feels really crucial, and that we get that right at the outset. And a recognition between some of the stakeholders. We know that for profit maximisation, the private house builders who are so key to delivering many of the homes that we need in the region will want to build homes on greenfield sites with minimal services. How do we make sure that the right demands of the different stakeholders are addressed properly? And that recognition that services need to be rigorously planned and delivered, both in future developments and current developments. We know that there have been provisional agreements from the NHS that GP surgeries might be able to go in, but actually the money from the NHS doesn't seem to be forthcoming. Sitting on the Health Scrutiny Committee, I've heard that those requests for NHS services are put in and asked for, but they don't seem to materialise. So how we hold the right feet to the fire to make sure we get these crucial services is absolutely essential. So, really exciting that focus on, what sort of places we want to create, aligned with the region's growth plan, is taking place, supported by the bilateral meetings that I know that you're going to be having, Helen, with and John is going to be having with the local authorities, but just making sure that we're thinking about as much as possible at the start to give the spatial development strategy the best chances of success and anticipating the kind of problems that we might experience.
Thank you. I too would like to extend my congratulations on your election to the chair of the combined authority. The audit committee, for reasons beyond my control, is out of cycle with the full committee meeting, and we are scheduled to meet on Monday morning in this very room. We will be addressing several areas: the committee's forward plan, our external auditors Grant Thornton's plans to examine the year for 24-25, our internal audit team's report for 24-25, the draft statement of accounts, which is a huge issue for us, an update for the National Fraud Initiative exercise, a Treasury Management Outturn report for 24-25, the quarterly corporate risk review, a cyber resilience update, and the health and safety improvement plan. We will also be meeting with Grant Thornton directly, without any officers present, to raise any issues that we feel needs their attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So we will now move to West of England Mayoral Combined Authority committee items 9 to 16. So Bath and North East Somerset, Bristol, South Gloucestershire and myself can vote on these items. Item 9 is the investment fund programme and grant assurance, and this is pages 13 to 42 of the main pack. So the report outlines the current position with the investment fund programme and new approvals. These include changes which would increase the headroom to provide new funding opportunities, and the approval of the Bath Quays Links project, which will provide a package of walking and cycling improvements in Bath city centre. The report also sets out the arrangements for the receipt and administration of new funding to support the Strategic Place Partnership with Homes England, the local growth plan, and to deliver a technology adoption pilot. So I'd like to offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we vote on this item. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, as mentioned, this latest round of investment demonstrates our region's shared ambition to deliver transformative infrastructure and for economic growth for the benefit of everybody. The approval of Bath Links full business case is a major milestone for Bath, unlocking safer, greener and more accessible routes that will benefit residents, businesses and visitors alike. With connectivity to other aspects of getting around, such as walking, wheeling and cycling routes across the city centre, Bath Quays Links is another step forward to creating an active travel network fit for the city of Bath, which is one of the world's greatest heritage cities. It's a clear example of how strategic regional funding can support local priorities and long-term regeneration, not just in Bath, but across the region, and is a clear example of how WECA can work.
Brilliant. Thank you. Tony?
Yeah, thank you. I think we are very supportive of the change proposed for the investment fund programme. I mean, obviously, the fact that it's 5.2 million underspend on the COSTS capacity is something that we are seeking to address in future. But as we learn from this, we also know we can move into delivering the new Transport for City Regions programme more effectively. We do need a mass transit system, whatever that may look like, that gives us the means to connect our residents to opportunities for education, employment and pleasure. And we've discussed this elsewhere about there are some parts of Bristol that find it very difficult in terms of connectivity, particularly areas like Arkcliffe, for instance. In terms of the other recommendations, the £200,000 funding, it's the first step of the Strategic Place Partnership that you announced at UK REEF in May. We all know we have a housing crisis across the region, and it's felt particularly acutely in Bristol, particularly as the city has now surpassed 500,000 residents for the first time. So we are looking to bring forward those new conurbations, new developments like Bristol Temple Quarter. When we do that, we need to make sure we have the appropriate amount of affordable housing, but also about making sure we deliver the services that people require as well. But very supportive of the proposers in this.
Thank you, Tony. Maggie.
Item ambition, I believe, and sustainability. So I will just.
Thank you, Maggie. So there are 10 recommendations which are on pages 13 and 14. If everyone is happy to do so, we can vote in one go. Is Maggie, you happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah, Tony, yeah. In that case, all those in favour, please show. All those against, there are none. So that's carried. Thank you. So then we move to item 10, which is delivery assurance, and that's pages 43 to 70. And this report sets out a number of change requests for schemes in the current investment fund programme, which are presented to the committee for approval. I won't go into detail, they are all very detailed in the report, but I will offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we vote on this item as well. Let's go in a different order. Tony, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the key areas in that is that the projects in the portfolio are very much worth delivering. In particular, I'd like to point out the need to deliver affordable homes in Engrove Park in South Bristol. The first phase that we're currently about to deliver us 30% affordable housing secured through planning, plus another 20% through grant. So that certainly we're being able to bring forward 50% affordable housing across that development. Due to government constraints, that split 25% shared ownership and 75% social rent, but it's delivering the type of houses that people in South Bristol need.
Great, thank you, Tony. Maggie? Of course, Kevin.
Maggie's in trouble because I'm just going to say I really support it. So I didn't. I can waffle for a bit if you want me, Maggie.
No, that's.
Thanks, Kevin.
No, that's absolutely fine. No, I shall. I will just say that I will also support. So that's absolutely fine.
Wonderful. Okay. So there's just one recommendation for this, which is on page 43. So again, all those in favour, please show. Okay, so that is also carried, which takes us to item 11, which is a really important item, West of England Local Remediation Acceleration Plan, and that is on pages 71 to 76 of the pack. 8 years on, none of us will ever forget the Grenfell Tower fire. It should never have happened. That disaster demands both answers and action because simply everyone deserves a safe place to live. The new government was right to apologise on behalf of the British state and to introduce significant changes. They were also right to set hard deadlines for buildings to be fixed with enforcement action and penalties where they are not. Yesterday, the Minister for Building Safety, Fire and Local Growth went further, confirming that these deadlines will be statutory and adding a requirement that buildings between 11 and 18 metres tall will need to be remediated by the end of 2031 at the latest. With the fire service, local councils and other partners, we will be working to accelerate remediation with investment from the government where necessary to deliver on those repairs. I've already met with our new Chief Fire Officer, Matt Cook, and know that we will work well together. The Combined Authority does not have statutory responsibility of building safety or regulation, but we are working on bringing together organisations and supporting work to secure investments. All combined authorities are working towards local remediation acceleration plans in this way, following funding from MHCLG. So I'd just like to, again, offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we vote on this item. Kevin, I'll go to you first.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to reiterate your words there, it's really important that we have a really good working relationship with fire and rescue services, which I think we do. It's a really important piece of work. It mainly affects Bristol, but I'm fully supportive of the paper, and I think it's a huge step forwards, and I welcome what the government have done recently as well.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Maggie?
Yes, I also fully support this. I mean, in South Gloucestershire, it isn't an enormous problem, but across the whole of the area here, and particularly Bristol, as we've heard, it is something that really needs to be supported to get sorted out as quickly as possible for the communities. Yeah, the whole issue has been a real problem for people, and the more help we can give to bring all these different bodies together to accelerate it, the better.
Thanks, Maggie. I really welcome those comments. Tony?
Yeah, thank you. No, it is an important development. It provides us with a clearer path to installing safer homes for our residents. We have done a lot of work in Bristol on the council and properties. We are working with privately owned tall buildings as well. We do have by far the most high-rise residential blocks in the region, and I know that Bristol City Council officers have been working very closely with your officers and others to bring this document forward, and I look forward to continuing that collaborative work as we, as you say, address this vitally important area.
Thank you very much, Tony. So there are 3 recommendations that are on page 71 for this item. if everyone is happy to do so, again, we can vote on all 3 recommendations in one go. So again, all those in favour, please show. And that is now carried. Moving swiftly on to item 12, which has already been mentioned today, which is the Spatial Development Strategy Inception. And this refers to the report which is on page 77 to 84 of the agenda pack. Central government has been clear that we need to develop a spatial development strategy, but there's so much more to delivering an SDS than it being a technocratic exercise for planners. The SDS, we think, is a great opportunity to shape how the West will grow in the future and secure the crucial investment that we need to make that happen. It will consider how we build the right homes in the right places, but importantly, what roads, schools and hospitals might be needed, how we support local jobs and businesses, and how that is aligned with our emerging growth strategy, and also how we protect nature and prepare for climate change as part of that work. I'm clear that any work on an SDS needs to be delivered fully in collaboration with local councils, and that will include North Somerset, building on their local plans. That's why I've reached out to all 4 leaders and their planning portfolio holders to ensure that we build the right ways of working together to make sure that the SDS is a success for the region and for everyone that lives here. So I want to offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we vote on this item. I'd also like to invite Catherine, if you would like to speak on this one as well. Shall I start with Catherine? Is that okay?
Sure. I'll take this opportunity. Yes, obviously, we have to go ahead with our own plan, but we're clearly mindful of everything that you're doing and try to align as far as possible. I've got our CEO here. I'd just like to digress a moment and go back to the cladding issue and just say, for the sake of residents we have in North Somerset, that equally we welcome the new moves, and we know that residents of in Portishead who've been in limbo with this issue will welcome all the changes. But yeah, absolutely, we face our challenges in terms of meeting housing targets in North Somerset, and we have additional challenges in terms of the sort of constraints we have as a region. As Hayley well knows, you know, we've got the sea, we've got, you know, we've got areas of extreme scientific interest, we've got green belt, so we face a lot of challenges, and we just very much welcome the ability to work closely with you guys on developing a regional approach that will benefit us all.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Maggie.
Yes, I also welcome this approach. I mean, it presents quite a significant step forward for the area, because we've long needed this cooperation and coordinated approach, particularly around the transport, but the major and all the major infrastructure. Obviously, the local development plans shouldn't be operating in isolation. So I'm pleased to see that in paragraph 7 on page 80, the report makes specific reference to the fact that any work on the SDS must not undermine the local plans of the constituent councils. I mean, in South Gloucestershire, we've put in an awful lot of work to get ours as far as we have. And it would be, I think, very wasteful for those plans of ours and for others to be set aside. So I really welcome the approach of working collaboratively on the new SDS, so that we can make use of all that work that's gone on previously. And we all know that having an up-to-date local plan helps to protect us from speculative development, which, you know, it doesn't help anybody to be at the mercy of those type of developments, because you cannot then get the infrastructure in place that you really need. So yeah, I welcome this wholeheartedly, that we will just work together on it.
Thank you, Maggie. Kevin.
Thank you, Helen. This is a massive step forward. I can't underestimate the the importance of this really. It's a long needed cross-boundary cooperation on planning for future homes, jobs, transport and services is a massive thing which was kicked into the long grass for too long. Our residents here cross borders all the time for work, for leisure, etc. They don't see local boundary as, so it's really important that WECA takes a lead on this. And as Helen has alluded to, we need more homes, but particularly affordable homes. The private sector has let us down for too long. They have their role to play in this because they're the only people that can really build en masse. But we need to take a strong lead on that to make sure it's truly affordable homes and those homes are in the right places as well. As Maggie's put, we have a local plan that we're going through at the moment, which will clearly remain central for Baines, and we want joint working with a spatial development strategy that helps prepare us for both pieces of work. One shouldn't really contradict the other. I think that's really important for all the authorities. Well-designed development supports sustainable, inclusive communities. So Mulberry Park in Bath is a great example of this. It already delivers over 500 homes at the moment. It's set and expected to deliver 700 more homes. So turning these plans into reality is what this spatial plan can do, and only by working together can we really push on this vital issue. So I cannot stress enough how important this is for us to get right.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you. I mentioned before about in Bristol, we have a clear problem with housing. That's indicated by the fact we have 22,000 households on our housing waiting list. We have another 1,600 households in temporary accommodation. We have 800 people living in vans or vehicles on the street. At the moment, we are experiencing 400 to 500 homelessness presentations every month. Clearly, the way to solve that is to provide the homes that people need. But when we provide the homes that people need, we also need to do that in a way that respects our neighbours, but also provides the additional services and also helps us to protect our green spaces, helps us to ensure people have somewhere to go for a dental appointment, for a GP. And I really look forward to us finally getting a spatial development strategy so that we can work as a region cooperatively and collaboratively.
Thanks, Tony, and thanks all for the commitment to that work. It's appreciated. It's going to be a big piece of work, but I do believe that we can do it together. There are 5 recommendations for this item that sit on pages 77 and 78. Once again, if everyone is happy to do so, we can take these in one vote. So all those in favour, please show. So that is also carried. So we will now move on to item 13, which is the transport infrastructure item, which is on pages 85 to 114. This paper helps us in our mission to get the West moving, and I really believe that it's incredibly important alongside the funding that we have received in the spending review. Buses are the backbone of our public transport network. This report contains the latest portion of a total of £150 million investment in green buses, the first of which are already serving local passengers, and I think to great effect. I don't know about you guys, but lots of positive comments about our new green buses. Funding from government and First Bus will mean that over 250 new electric buses are here by next summer, and full electrification of 4 of their 5 depots. I saw and climbed some of those charging gantries in Hengrove with the local transport minister in June, and know what a difference the buses are already making to people's experience on board, and as well as to reliability on routes, which I think is absolutely key. So this will be a big step forwards towards the buses that people deserve in the region. On active travel, this paper includes more school streets and investment in walking, wheeling and cycling across the region. School streets are something I backed and initiated as a councillor in Bristol, and will continue to support as mayor, working with all our councils. I know that we have the ambition for even more of these successful schemes to cut pollution and help people get around. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Boardman will be visiting next week, and I'll be making the case for our share of the £616 million million national investment in active travel that was announced in the spending review. If Chris comes back next summer with Kevin, we could be able to take him to Bath Quays Bridge and the wider investment, thanks to this paper, in active travel in Bath, linking that new bridge to the Bath City Enterprise Zone, wider regen, and making things better on Lower Bristol Road and Green Park Road. We're committed to improving our suburban rail network, building on the new stations and enhanced rail services that have been introduced by the Mayoral Combined Authority over recent years. I'm delighted that the recent spending review confirmed the funding necessary to enable the Bristol and Portishead line to finally move forward into construction. My aim is to see trains running from Portishead via Temple Meads to new stations at North Filton and Henbury. This report also notes plans to draw down further funding to ensure that North Filton station is ready to open as soon as possible. I would like to offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we vote on this item. Maggie?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I welcome this investment in the zero emission buses. I mean, it's an initiative that really underlines our dedication to providing those sustainable alternatives to private car use, and promoting cleaner and more inclusive modes of transport. We're making significant strides towards the climate and health and well-being goals, and it will make it easier for everybody to get around safely and sustainably. And I think we share that ambition, and to make it a healthier city and region will be a great benefit.
Brilliant, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, thank you. Welcome this very much. Buses sometimes in the past have been the poor relation, with everybody talking about more sexier forms of transport.
Dave, is there anything sexier than a bus?
There you go.
I didn't think so.
Well, hopefully with some of this funding, we start to move to having 3-door buses so that people can get on and off the bus even quicker as well. That'd be even sexier. So moving on to the yellow area in here, which is about Metro West and the opportunity to get the North Filton station open, and also potentially new stations at Embury and perhaps even Lotley's. And then further down the line, who knows, I'll finally get my station at Aston Gate.
Watch this space, Kevin.
If we're mentioning stations, I think Salford needs a mention as well. Who can compete for stations? We take these papers obviously separately for legal reasons, but I think it's quite clear how this one is really linked to the spatial development paper. You know, you've got to get transport right. If you want to build up the right homes in the right places, this is where I think the West of England Combined Authority can really take the lead. If you're creating proper sustainable transport links between those new developments, it will encourage people to walk and cycle to work from the basis of moving into their home rather than relying on the car. And this is key to a cleaner, greener area. And I think we can lead on that if we get it right. So I really welcome this paper and fully support it.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So there are 4 recommendations for this paper, and they can be found on pages 85 and 86. So I'm going to make the assumption that we're happy to vote in one block. All those in favour, please show. So that is also carried, which takes us to item number 14, which is the Mayoral Combined Authority and Mayoral Budget Outturn 2024-2025. And this is pages 115 to 150 in the report. This year's Outturn reflects the scale and ambition of our programme across infrastructure, transport and skills, including nearly £135 million of capital investment in 2024-25. It's also positive to see continued growth in in-year investments secured, with further progress in attracting funding essential for us to deliver at the pace that we wish to. We've strengthened our financial resilience, with general reserves now meeting the 5% benchmark recommended by our auditors. And that gives us a solid and sustainable platform to continue supported delivery in the year ahead. I want to offer the floor to my fellow leaders before we vote on this important paper. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. No comments, just happy to support the paper.
Wonderful. Maggie?
Yes, similarly.
Tony?
Same for me.
Excellent. So there's one recommendation, which is page 115. I think it's a case of noting this report. So are the committee content to note this report? Excellent. Item 15 is the Audit Committee Annual Report, which you'll find in pages 151 to 170. Councillor Wilcox, would you like to speak to this report?
Certainly, yes. The report's the annual report for the Audit Committee, and we've been working over that year to actually achieve it. So I commend the report to the committee.
Thank you very much. Are the committee content to note this report? Yes. Excellent. Okay, the next item, item 16, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee Annual Report, pages 171 to 186 in your packs. Councillor Thomas, would you like to speak to this one?
Thank you. Just briefly, I mean, I commend the report to the committee, and I note how useful it's been to have pre-scrutiny sessions and do some deep dives in some areas, and also to have some kind of visit to some of the adult skills institutions that we fund. It was really enlightening, and I hope it gave useful feedback for officers. So thank you for organising, to the officers for organising that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jerome. Are the committee content to note this report? Excellent, thank you. So now we move on to item 17, which is a joint committee item, which is the Joint Committee Budget Outturn 2024 to 2025, pages 187 to 202, and North Somerset can vote on this item. This report represents the revenue and capital outturn of the West of England Joint Committee budget for the financial year of 2024-25, based on data from the period April 24 to March 2025. There are two recommendations which can be found on page 187, and if everyone is happy to do so, we can vote on both recommendations in one go. All those in favour, please show. Yeah. Excellent. That is also carried. And rather swiftly, that closes today's meeting. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming along and joining us. Thank you to everyone around the table, and I hope everyone has a joyful weekend. Thank you. Thank you.